Listen to me carefully. Some of you are losing sleep over things God never asked you to carry. You're trying to control tomorrow, and while God is asking you to trust Him today, you're stressing over doors that haven't opened yet. But what if I told you that the very thing you're worried about is already in God's hands? The question is not, will God handle it? The real question is, will you let Him? Many people live with constant worry because they feel responsible for controlling everything around them. They try to control the future, the results of their hard work, the behavior of other people, and even situations that are completely outside their power. At first, it feels like responsibility. It feels like if they think about the problem long enough, stress about it long enough, or plan every detail carefully enough, they can somehow guarantee the outcome they want. But the truth is that this mindset slowly turns into a heavy burden. The human mind was never designed to carry the weight of controlling every part of life. When someone tries to take control of everything, worry naturally begins to grow, because deep down they know there are many things they simply cannot manage. Worry often begins with simple thoughts that sound harmless. A person might think, what if this doesn't work out? Or what if things go wrong? Over time, those thoughts repeat again and again until they become anxiety. Instead of living in the present moment, the mind becomes trapped in imagined futures that may never even happen. Sleep becomes harder, peace disappears, and the heart feels constantly restless. All of this happens because the person is trying to do something that was never meant to be their responsibility. Life contains many things that are simply beyond human control. No one can control tomorrow, the timing of opportunities, or the decisions other people make. You can work hard, prepare, and do your best, but the final outcome is not always in your hands. When people forget this truth, they begin to place unrealistic pressure on themselves. They start believing that if something goes wrong, it must mean they didn't try hard enough or didn't think carefully enough. This belief creates a cycle of overthinking and fear. Trusting God breaks that cycle. Trust does not mean doing nothing or ignoring responsibilities. It means doing what you can with sincerity and effort and then releasing the rest into God's hands. It means understanding that there is a greater wisdom guiding life, even when the path is not clear. When someone truly believes that God is in control, the pressure to control everything begins to fade. The heart becomes calmer because it realizes that not every problem depends on human strength. Think about how exhausting it is to carry every worry alone. Trying to manage every outcome, predict every problem, and prevent every difficulty drains emotional and mental energy. But when a person learns to surrender those uncontrollable parts of life to God, they experience a different kind of strength. Instead of being overwhelmed by uncertainty, they begin to feel peace in the middle of it. Trust also changes how a person responds to challenges. Instead of reacting with panic, they respond with patience. Instead of assuming the worst, they believe that even difficult situations can lead to something meaningful. They understand that delays, obstacles, and unexpected turns are sometimes part of a larger plan that they cannot fully see yet. In this way, worry slowly loses its power. It no longer dominates every thought or steals every moment of peace. The mind becomes free to focus on what truly matters, doing the right thing today, growing through experiences, and believing that God will handle the things beyond human control. When a person stops trying to take God's role and instead chooses to trust Him, life begins to feel lighter, calmer, and filled with a deeper sense of purpose. Sometimes people think that if they cannot see progress, then nothing is happening. When prayers seem unanswered and situations remain the same, it becomes easy to believe that God is silent or distant. But one of the most important truths about faith is understanding that God often works in ways that are not immediately visible. Just because something has not changed on the surface does not mean that nothing is happening behind the scenes. Life does not always move according to human expectations. People want quick answers, fast solutions, and immediate breakthroughs. When those things do not come right away, doubt can begin to grow in the mind. A person may start asking questions like, why is this taking so long? Or, did my prayer even matter? These thoughts can slowly weaken hope. However, the reality is that many of the most important things in life take time to develop. Growth, preparation, and transformation rarely happen overnight. overnight. Think about a seed planted in the ground. When someone plants it, nothing appears to change for a long time. The soil looks exactly the same as it did before. If someone judged the situation only by what they could see, they might believe the seed is doing nothing. But beneath the surface, something powerful is happening. The seed is breaking open, roots are spreading, and the foundation for future growth is forming. Eventually, a small plant begins to appear, but long before that moment, the process had already begun. In many ways, God's work in our lives follows a similar pattern. While people focus on visible results, God often focuses on preparation. Sometimes He is shaping circumstances so that the right opportunity appears at the right time. Sometimes He is working in the hearts of other people who will play a role in your future. Other times He is preparing you, building your strength, patience, and character so that you are ready to handle the blessings that are coming. Without that preparation, even a good opportunity can become overwhelming. Imagine receiving something you prayed for before you were ready to manage it. Instead of becoming a blessing, it could turn into stress or confusion. That is why God's timing often feels slower than human timing. It is not because nothing is happening, but because the process is deeper and more complex than what we can see. Looking back at life, many people realize that some of their greatest blessings arrived in unexpected ways. A delay that once felt frustrating later made perfect sense. A closed door that once seemed disappointing eventually protected them from something that would not have been right for them. In those moments, it becomes clear that God was guiding events all along, even when the path seemed uncertain. Trusting that unseen work requires patience and faith. It means believing that God's plan is still active even when the situation looks unchanged. It means remembering that silence does not mean absence. Sometimes the quiet seasons of life are the times when the most important changes are taking place beneath the surface. When a person truly accepts this idea, worry begins to lose its grip. Instead of constantly asking why things are not happening yet, they learn to trust that progress may already be unfolding in ways they cannot see. Their focus shifts from impatience to belief, from frustration to hope. Understanding that God is always working behind the scenes brings a sense of calm to the heart. It reminds people that their efforts, prayers, and hopes are never wasted. Even in moments when nothing seems to be moving forward, the story is still being written. The answers, opportunities, and breakthroughs that seem delayed today may simply be part of a larger plan that is still unfolding. Fear often begins in the mind through small, uncertain thoughts about the future. A person may start wondering what could go wrong, what might fail, or what difficulties could appear tomorrow. These thoughts seem small at first, but when they repeat again and again, they begin to shape how a person feels and reacts to life. Slowly, fear grows stronger, filling the mind with doubt and replacing hope with anxiety. When fear takes control, even small problems can feel overwhelming because the mind is constantly expecting the worst. Many people experience this when they face uncertainty. They might be waiting for an opportunity, struggling with a difficult situation, or standing at a point in life where the next step is not clear. In these moments, the mind naturally tries to predict the outcome. Instead of imagining something positive, it often focuses on negative possibilities. Thoughts like, what if I fail? Or what if everything goes wrong? Begin to appear. Over time, these thoughts create a heavy emotional burden that affects confidence and peace of mind. Faith changes this pattern of thinking. Faith does not mean pretending that problems do not exist. It does not mean ignoring challenges or refusing to acknowledge difficulties. Instead, faith changes how a person looks at those difficulties. Rather than assuming the worst, faith allows someone to believe that there is still hope, guidance, and purpose even in uncertain situations. When a person has faith, they understand that life is not controlled only by human effort. They believe that God is guiding their path and that every situation has meaning beyond what can be seen immediately. This belief does not remove every challenge, but it transforms the emotional response to those challenges. Fear begins to lose its power because the person no longer feels alone in facing the future. Fear constantly focuses on what might go wrong, but faith focuses on the possibility that things can work out out in ways we do not yet understand. Fear says that the future is dangerous and unpredictable, while faith says that even when the path is unclear, God is still present and active. This shift in perspective can bring a deep sense of calm to the heart. For example, when someone faces a difficult decision or an uncertain situation, fear might tell them to stop moving forward. It might convince them that taking a step could lead to failure or disappointment. Faith, however, encourages courage. It reminds the person that growth often happens outside of comfort zones, and that many of life's greatest opportunities appear only when someone is willing to move forward despite uncertainty. Faith also helps people remain patient during challenging times. When things do not change quickly, fear may whisper that nothing will improve. Faith, however, reminds the person that progress can take time and that God's timing is often different from human expectations. This belief creates resilience, allowing someone to continue hoping and believing even when results are not immediate. Another important difference between fear and faith is the effect they have on the mind. Fear creates tension, stress, and constant overthinking. It fills the mind with endless questions and doubts. Faith, on the other hand, brings a sense of peace. It allows a person to release the need to control every outcome and trust that the future is not entirely dependent on their own strength. When someone chooses faith over fear, they begin to see life differently. Challenges no longer appear as permanent obstacles, but as temporary moments that can lead to growth and transformation. The future no longer feels like something to dread, but something that still holds possibility. In this way, faith becomes a powerful replacement for fear. It does not erase every uncertainty, but it gives people the courage to face life with hope instead of anxiety. By trusting that God is guiding their journey, individuals can move forward with confidence, knowing that they are not walking through life's challenges alone. Many people carry heavy emotional burdens without even realizing how much those burdens are affecting their peace of mind. They constantly think about problems, replay difficult situations, and try to figure out solutions for things that may not even have answers yet. This constant pressure creates stress in the heart and mind. Over time, it becomes exhausting. The mind never truly rests because it is always trying to manage something, solve something, or control something that may be far beyond human ability. In these moments, the greatest relief often comes from learning how to surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up or becoming careless about life. It does not mean ignoring responsibilities or refusing to take action. Instead, surrender means recognizing the limits of human control and trusting God with the parts of life that cannot be managed alone. It is the act of releasing the weight of worry and placing it in the hands of someone greater. When a person truly understands this idea, it becomes clear that they were never meant to carry every burden by themselves. One of the reasons people struggle to surrender their worries is because they feel responsible for fixing everything. They believe that if they keep thinking about the problem long enough, they will eventually discover the perfect solution. While careful thinking and planning are important, there is a point where thinking turns into overthinking. Instead of creating solutions, it creates stress. The mind becomes trapped in a cycle of repeating the same concerns again and again without reaching peace. Prayer and trust are powerful ways to break that cycle. When someone chooses to surrender their worries to God, they are making a conscious decision to stop fighting every battle alone. In prayer, a person expresses their fears, frustrations, hopes, and desires honestly. This act itself can bring relief because it allows emotions that were hidden inside the heart to finally be released. It becomes a moment of connection where the person acknowledges that they need guidance and support beyond their own strength. After surrendering a problem through prayer, the next step is learning to trust that God has heard it. This part can be challenging because the mind may still want to return to worry. Old habits of overthinking can try to pull the person back into anxiety. But each time that happens, the person has another opportunity to remind themselves that the situation is already in God's hands. Slowly, this repeated act of trust begins to change the way the mind responds to stress. When surrender becomes a regular practice, something remarkable happens inside the heart. The constant tension begins to fade. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by every uncertainty, the person develops a deeper sense of calm. They understand that while they are responsible for their actions and choices, the ultimate outcome of life's situations is not something they must carry alone. This sense of peace does not mean that life suddenly becomes free from challenges. Difficult moments will still appear and problems will still need attention. However, the difference is in how those challenges are experienced. Instead of being crushed by pressure, the person approaches difficulties with a calmer and more balanced mindset. They do what they can, make the best decisions they know how to make, and trust that the rest will unfold according to a greater plan. Surrender also creates space for gratitude and hope. When the mind is no longer consumed by endless worry, it becomes easier to notice the positive aspects of life. Small blessings, moments of progress, and signs of support become more visible. The heart becomes lighter because it is no longer holding on to every fear. In this way, surrender becomes a pathway to peace. By releasing the need to control everything and trusting God with the unknown parts of life, a person finds rest not only in their thoughts, but also deep within their spirit. Life often presents situations that are completely outside human control. No matter how careful, intelligent, or hardworking someone may be, there will always be moments when the outcome of a situation cannot be determined by human effort alone. People can plan, prepare, and make wise decisions, but certain parts of life remain uncertain. The future, the choices of other people, unexpected events, and the timing of opportunities are all things that cannot be fully controlled. This reality can feel uncomfortable because human nature prefers certainty and stability. When people cannot control something, they often begin to worry about what might happen next. This is where many struggles begin. Instead of accepting that some things are beyond human control, people try even harder to manage every detail of life. They replay situations in their minds, searching for ways to prevent problems that may not even occur. They imagine different outcomes and feel responsible for making sure everything turns out perfectly. Over time, this constant mental effort creates stress and emotional exhaustion. The mind becomes filled with questions and fears about the future. However, the truth is that the world has always been larger than human control. Many of the events that shape life happen in ways that no individual could predict or manage. The meeting of certain people, the timing of opportunities, and even moments of unexpected protection often occur in ways that feel almost mysterious. When people reflect on their past, they often realize that many important moments in their lives were guided by circumstances they did not control. Recognizing that God controls what humans cannot brings a powerful shift in perspective. Instead of feeling helpless in the face of uncertainty, a person begins to see that there is a greater wisdom guiding life. God's understanding is not limited by time, knowledge, or human perspective. While people can only see a small part of the picture, God sees the entire path, including the beginning, the middle, and the end. This understanding brings comfort during difficult moments. When a person faces a situation that feels confusing or overwhelming, they can remember that the outcome is not determined solely by their own ability. God is capable of guiding events in ways that humans may never fully understand. What appears to be a delay may actually be protection. What seems like a closed door may lead to a better opportunity later. Situations that look negative at first can sometimes become turning points that lead to growth and new possibilities. Trusting God with the uncontrollable parts of life does not remove the need for personal effort. People are still responsible for their choices, actions, and attitudes. They must still work hard, treat others with kindness, and make thoughtful decisions. But once those efforts have been made, the rest does not have to become a source of endless worry. The final outcome can be left in God's hands. This trust creates a sense of freedom. Instead of constantly fearing what might happen next, a person can focus on living fully in the present moment. They can give their best effort today without being paralyzed by fear of tomorrow. Even when challenges appear, they can face them with the confidence that they are not alone in navigating life's uncertainties. Over time, this perspective strengthens faith and resilience. Each experience becomes a reminder that life is not random or uncontrolled. There is guidance, purpose, and direction beyond what human eyes can see. The more a person learns to trust God with the things they cannot control, the more peace they experience in their daily life. They realize that while they may not control every situation, their future is held in the hands of someone who sees far beyond what they can imagine.